Hello and welcome to a very unusual edition of Cracking the Cryptic, in which I'm going to talk a bit about some work that Mark and I have been doing for a year or so with Sakana AI. They're an AI company based in Japan, and we have been working with them on trying to improve AI's ability to reason, because for those of you who don't know, AI is fantastic. I mean, these large language models are absolutely extraordinary at interpreting language, and you know, you can ask them any questions and they're really good. But their ability to make human deductions is sporadic. Let's call it sporadic. And every now and again, I wonder to myself whether the models are improving and whether they're able to start thinking in a human-like way. And it occurred to me after I did today's puzzle, which was called The Composite Thread by Palpot, that there are some very human principles that can be extracted from the instructions to this puzzle if you just think about them and look at the grid. And I thought it would be interesting to see how an AI model got on. So I'm not asking it to solve the puzzle necessarily, although I might do if it looks like it is understanding it. But I thought, would the computer understand the simple principles involved? Now, for those of you who haven't watched the earlier video in which I solved this puzzle live, these are so-called region sum lines, these lines in the grid, and the idea is that you split the lines into segments, or the lines are split into segments by the 3x3 box borders. And then what you're told in the instructions is that each of these segments has the same sum. So you don't know what the sum is, you just know that those yellow ones add to the same as those purple ones, add to the same as those green ones. And on a different line, these two will add to the same as these two, will add to the same as those three, will add to the same as those two there, etc. throughout the puzzle. So that's how the puzzle works. Now, in this puzzle, there is an additional rule which says that the sum of the digits along any one of these lines, if you add up all the digits along the line, you're going to get a number. And that number, oh, that's my chewing gum falling on the floor. You're going to get, now in this puzzle, what the instructions tell you is you're going to get a unique number. So if this added up to 20, this one couldn't also add up to 20. Moreover, you're also told that the set of numbers that each of these lines add up to is a sequence, a consecutive sequence. So if this added up to 20, you know, this one might add up to 19, this one might add up to 21, such that all 5 numbers formed a consecutive sequence, like 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Now, the key to solving this, don't listen to the next bit if you don't want to know. The key to solving this is to think about prime numbers. Because obviously, the moment you look at this, you can see each line is split up into segments. No line has one segment. So each, for instance, this line here, that's a segment, that's a segment, that's a segment, and that's a segment. Now, because we know each of those segments adds to the same number, the total digits on this line, this sort of water slide line, must be expressible as 4x, because if that's x, that's x, that's x, and that's x, overall it must be 4x, mustn't it? So the total for this line is divisible by 4. And you can find this line is divisible by 5 using the same principle, this by 3, this one only by 2, and this by 3. And so then we know, because we're looking for a consecutive series of numbers that involves no prime number, we can start to use that to identify the particular range of numbers that these lines must add up to. And that's exactly how I approached it. I think it's how anybody with a human with any human genetics would approach it. Right, what I'm going to attempt to do now is to provide a couple of well-known AIs. I've got Grok 3 here. I'm also going to use Gemini 2.5. I'm going to explain to the computer the setup of the initial grid. So I'm going to provide it with words explaining how the lines move, explaining exactly which segments equal which other segments, and providing it with the instructions to the puzzle. And I'm going to be interested to see whether or not the computer understands and whether it can deduce anything human from that. I've tried this once already, but what confused both AIs was it didn't really understand the region some lines constraint. So what I've done now is I've rewritten the instructions to the puzzle in sort of minute detail. So you can see here. So I've said, imagine a blank Sudoku grid in this grid of 5 lines, and then I've specified the lines, and then I've said at the end of each line, on this line, the sum of the first 4 cells, etc. So I've really spelt out exactly what's going on. And I'm going to just be interested to see what it says. Let's see what it goes. Here we go. Okay, so it's sort of specifying the problem so far. 3S1. So what's S1? The total sum. Let the sum of each group. This is interesting. Okay, so this is a very sensible approach which might give it a chance to spot the prime point. Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to read this because I'm actually quite interested in what it's doing. Each line contains we can calculate the possible sum ranges. It's a very sensible thing to do. So how on earth has it come up with 68 as the total sum for the shortest line? 2 cells, is 17. I get that. For 3 cells, the minimum and the maximum is 24. Oh, maybe I'm looking at the wrong line there. I think line 3. Line 3 did have a maximum sum of 34, so that makes sense. So so then it said that the sums of all the lines are 5n plus 10. That is logically true. Line covers 43 cells. See, it's getting lost in the weeds here. Does it understand? Oh, sorry, there's a trampoline war going on outside. Oh, and then it's tried to come up with the solution to the puzzle. Line 1. So what's it got the sum as? Oh my goodness, I don't understand this. Recheck sums. Adjust. See, it's quite close. Adjust to 30 to 34, but that would include 31, so it hasn't understood the prime problem. And then it sort of just stops, doesn't it? So it was line assignments here. It's got close, but why does it think 31 is a possible line? Adjust sums to fit into integers. Okay, I'm sort of hopeful for that, but then it just got lost, didn't it? Okay, so let's try Gemini instead. So where's my Gemini tab? Okay, so here's Gemini instead. Let's give it the same prompt and run it. Oh, okay, so I need to slightly reduce this so we can see. I like clicking the thinking. And I wish in a way it would specify it a bit. You know, it says I've made significant progress, but it doesn't explain what it's done. Maybe that's just I haven't pressed the right button for it to show me. Mapping the line relationships. You see, is it suddenly going to spring up with the fact that, because what we want it to do is to say that, okay, there is only one possible combination of line values, and that's 33, 32, 33, 34, 35, and 36. My goal is to determine the most likely sets. That's a very sensible goal. I'm zeroing in on the specific values of the sums. Very sensible. But how are you doing it? How are you doing it? Is there a button I can press to make it explain where it's got to in its thinking? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness me. Hang on. I have working on determine. I've narrowed it down to that. I've successfully mapped the values to their corresponding lines. I am now proceeding with the assignment of some constraints to the lines. This is really interesting. I'm very impressed. I've finally determined the unique. Now my efforts. Okay. I mean, it should be able to solve that. If it can understand that, it should be able to solve the puzzle. I would love to know. Yeah, okay. I've successfully identified. It keeps saying the same thing, doesn't it? Oh, it's still thinking. I've begun to define the sets of possible sums. I'm revisiting the initial deductions, aiming to pinpoint cells with fixed values. But presumably, if it's got those numbers identified, it must know, for example, which line is the 35 line, because that's the only line divisible by 5. I'm now focusing on modelling the Sudoku sum lines. I've successfully characterised the unique... Oh wow, okay. Oh great. So now it's going to tell me. This is great. So now we're going to see how logically it approached it. So it's understood that this line is 3x, which is very important. And then it's sort of done a max min, which makes sense. S1 must be a multiple of 3. Very nice. S2 must be a multiple of 4. It must indeed. A multiple of 2. A multiple of 5. A multiple of 3. You're quite right. And then it's... Okay, so then it's got this. There must be exactly one multiple of 5 in the set. Perfect. There must be 2 multiples of 3. It does understand. It does understand. If the multiple, if n is them... Okay, I'm not sure. Okay, so this... I can't... I'd have to really read this to work out quite what it's doing. But I think it's doing the right sort of thing. It's testing, for example, whether 30 could be the multiple of 5, is it? That would be a sensible thing to do. And it really has, and that's right. Look here, this is beautiful. So S1, which is line 1, is 33 or 36, and indeed I didn't know which it was until I did a lot of Sudoku. The same is true of S5. And then it's correctly assigned, and it's got the correct values of x for the second line, the third line, yeah, and line 4. This is absolutely brilliant. Okay. Now, could you solve the problem? Or is it not going to try? Maybe it's not going to try. The final answer. Or maybe I didn't ask it to try. I can't remember. That's extremely clever. I will be polite to it. Extremely well done. Can you use what you have discovered to solve the whole Sudoku puzzle? I'd love to know. Yeah, so this is really, I mean, this is amazing. It's amazing. So how, I mean, it's not going to be long, is it? I mean, I think Sakana have been doing work on allowing the machine to visually interpret a grid. So I wouldn't have to type in all of the stuff explaining the constraint, and it could just get going with its thinking. But the fact is that it did appreciate something I think as quite human, in a way that I'm not so sure Grok 3 did. Oh, I didn't press the expand. I'm now focused on deducing specific cell values using the with key values like row 7 column 9. Is that row 7 column 9 was a 7, row 8 column 9 was a 1. I'm now fully immersed in the puzzle, methodically applying the established constraints. I'm analysing the implications. So this is, I've progressed to explaining both initiating deductive logic, whatever that is. Yes, that's true. The specific pair is 8, 9. Oh. Okay. I'm now zeroing in on candidate values. My current analysis reveals significant progress. Okay, it looks like it's now trying to work out which line is the 12 line and which is the 11 line segment. I wonder, because it's taken just over 2 minutes to do this now, and I know that Sudoku solvers often take like an instant of time because they just blast the grid with all the possible values. And this is clearly taking longer than that, isn't it? Because it's trying to do it, I presume, in some sort of logical way, and that must... I'm now fine-tuning the approach for identified a path. I have confirmed. So it's confirmed some digits. Row 7 column 3 equals 8. Row 7 column 3, I can't remember which line that's on. I think that's probably correct. Right, so now what it's done is it's got line 5 was the x5 equals 11. I'm not sure what that means in terms of how it's doing. It's still fully immersed. I mean, this video could get quite long now while it sort of mulls over how to do... Oh! Okay. Wow. Okay, so it's doing something. It sounds like it's trying to do... Here's a partially filled grid. So it has got stuck. The final answer is... Yes, the discovered properties provide sufficient constraints. So it's done something. I think it has got row 7. But it seems to have got stuck. I mean, how can it do all that it's done and then get stuck? It's on the easy bit of it. That's fascinating. I mean, I have to do quite a lot of work now to work out why it's got stuck here. But it's certainly understood that this bottom line has segments that add up to 7, and it's filled them in correctly. And it's also understood that the line that passed through 4 3x3 boxes has segments adding up to 8 and it's got the 7 and the 1. That's very, very... I mean, it's really impressive. It's really impressive and at the same time baffling. Because how can it do the hard things, and in many ways the more human things, and then get stuck on what I presumed would be... Because once it understands the nature of the problem, it can... You sort of think it will just blast it, or be able to blast it. That's really... Oh, well, anyway, it's a strange video, and I hope it will cause some comment. let me know what you think about this stuff. I'd be very interested to hear the views, as always, and thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Back later.